Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to the 4th Project Damsel devlog. Project Damsel is a skillful roguelike game in which you throw stones on the heads of enemies and use many fun spells to defend your castle. In this devlog I want to show you how I designed the worst enemy ever, the skeleton archer, and how I want to avoid abominations like that in the future. This single monster is so complicated that it took me ages to develop him. Then he drove one of my game testers so mad with rage that he quit the game while I sat right next to him making notes. Normally I have to be attentive to notice all the bad things in my game when I observe a game tester. This time it was obvious. Here's what happened. The skeleton archer always stays at the bottom of the level and shoots arrows at the player. This of course makes him more difficult to hit as he is further away from the player. In addition, he only shoots an arrow when he actually sees the player. He then stands still until he has finished shooting the arrow. If he loses sight of the player, he stops shooting and continues moving. In my mind, this creates a super fun dynamic in which the player can outsmart the archer. In reality, the skeleton will just randomly stop moving and is thus extremely hard to hit. I then redesigned the enemy to be a spear goblin that is constantly moving, shoots a total of 3 spears at the player, and then moves towards the player in the same way as almost every enemy does. This enemy has 80% less code and is a lot more fun to play against. To design my next enemies more quickly, I set myself the challenge of designing and developing the next 4 enemies in a single day and have them ready to the next round of playtesting. Therefore, I decided to keep them as simple as possible and make them with stock art. When they are fun, I will order the final designs from my artist. Here are the 4 enemies I ended up with. Enemy number 1 explodes if he is hit. This has a tendency to instantly kill the player when the explosion is really close. I'm not sure whether this is fun or frustrating, but I have shown in the past that I'm not afraid to make my playtesters mad. Enemy number 2 casts a shield spell that protects all enemies around him from a single hit. Maybe the shield spell should go away after a period of time or when the mage is killed. However, it's fine for the next prototype. Enemy number 3 summons ghosts that shoot 5 projectiles at the player and then vanish. Enemy number 4 is a launcher that propels the enemy up one floor. You might argue that this is an object and not an enemy, therefore I have added some eyes. Did I finish implementing them in a single day? No. I discovered some nasty bugs and the launcher was far more complicated than I thought. I also created some new levels so my testers won't get bored when they play the same levels over and over again. I was done in 4 days. However, developing 4 enemies in 4 days is not as catchy as the title. I'm really happy that I can gather some more insights from the new prototype. A like or subscribe helps me a lot. If you feel especially generous, you can write a comment if you have ideas for new enemies. I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.